Yo, what is up guys, Bobby Thinking here, and today we're finally going to be updating my next generation retrospective with Island Homecoming, which when the season first aired, it was my favorite season of all time. This season has the best boot order, really amazing arcs with the characters like Greg, Liana, and Octavio, and great introductions to new characters like Stud Muffin. I also think this season handles this 3-tribe format a lot better than Total Drama World Tour, and the Tiki idol players have a fun role to play on this season. Not to mention, the staff drama is also great here, and it really bleeds into the drama with the main cast. Overall, this season is really entertaining, and it has everything I've ever wanted, and there's no real slow points during the season from both a character or a gameplay perspective. And upon rewatching, I think I love the season even more. Cove really hits the nail of making sure no character feels wasted on the season, and pushing these characters a lot further and making them better. But like in my previous retrospectives and reviews, we'll be talking about the staff, the cast, the gameplay, relationships, and then finally won it off with the winner. This season we have a new staff member, Blaney. Yes, Blaney from Total Drama. Her character in the series is pretty much just the same as in Total Drama. A woman who loves the drama just as much as she loves conflicts with the higher ups. I'll start with the drama. I love her friendship with Angela. It's the better teacher and student, mom and daughter type of relationship that puts a dynamic like DJ and Chef to shame. Blaney is Angela's hype woman right from the get-go, just because Angela is literally a mini her, and their interactions together for the whole season really make for some of the best comedy to watch throughout really the entire season. Those two are never not glazing each other up and down, and I can't lie, this might be one of my favorite dynamics to watch. She's also really bad at serving food to the winning team, and that's also great. Her reaction to Aubrey breaking her leg is really good, just because obviously they don't have a medical team. She's obviously expected to do something, but obviously she just can't. Just in general, I can't say Blaney disappointed as far as her interactions with the contestants go. Now for relationship with Chefette, and I love this rivalry. Blaney has been spending more time with Cassandra and has been making her a more cruel host. Obviously Chefette doesn't like that, as Cassandra and her are best friends, so she does let Blaney know. Blaney obviously doesn't like being told to back off, so the two are always insulting each other, and this leads to Chefette bringing the votes at the final 7 to save Angela, and then frame Blaney for it. Only for Cassandra to watch back the tapes and see that Chefette lied, and at the end of the season though, Cassandra does end up firing Blaney just because she sucks at her job and realizes that Chefette was right all along about her. I like this antagonistic run Blaney goes on this season, and proactive Chefette might honestly be my favorite version of her. So having Chefette be so proactive in keeping Cassandra away from Blaney's evil ideologies on how to run the show is honestly pretty great to watch. Now this ends up being the final season for Cassandra before Legends, and honestly this was a solid send-off, with her finding her long lost sister and just not being in love with hosting anymore. I mean, Cassandra this season, outside of those two plotlines, it's always amazing, so I don't have any complaints about her. Overall, Blaney, Chefette, and Cassandra's friendship triangle was fun to watch, and really should be the standard on how to write these staff characters that bring the drama but also make them realistic characters as well. If I was giving this season a rating, or at least giving this section a rating, it would be a 10 out of 10. Now for the cast, and oh boy, this is going to be a long one. I love everything that every character brings to the season. Every person matters and affects the story moving forward, and that's something you cannot say for Total Drama World Tour. This 3-team dynamic actually works here, and the advantage that lets you swap out of your own team is also a fun one as well, causing for new dynamics to be made. No character feels like they drag on, but anyways, let's just get to the cast, starting it off with Vincey Boy, who definitely is the least relevant on the cast as he was the first boot. And I remember at the time, me and Noah, if you guys actually remember that YouTuber, actually thought that Vince was going to win the season, and well, yeah, that was wrong, which is actually pretty funny now that I think about it, because I think when I started the channel, I saw Caleb was going to win the Reboot Season 1, and he was also the first boot, so yeah, I'm really 2 for 2 actually, because I predicted Wayne and Logan would win their season. So anyways, enough of my prediction talk. Vince is still my favorite character of the series, and his run here doesn't disappoint me. He's still really funny and horny, so I can't necessarily complain about that. His crush on Liana is also great too, and that does play a small factor on the season, so yeah. Moving forward to Cosmo, who I loved on this season. After his amazing performance in Back in Action, this time is for him redeeming himself in the eyes of China and Megan. He nukes his team Testosterone, yes, I say testosterone like that, deals it, just to find the Tiki idol, and he almost does until it gets stuck and he is sent home. I love his friendship with China and Megan, and I'm glad that they're reunited together, and also he's still on Danny, which their dynamic is also one of my favorites. Speaking of China, China is out next, and she's pretty much the same, just likable. Cosmo did tell Megan and China where the Tiki idol was, leading to China and Megan to fight over who should get it, only for Megan to then undercut China by having it. Not the best run from China, however she isn't ruined on this season. I am not the biggest Wendell fan. I think for the few videos I've made on the series, I think I've made that pretty clear, but this is easily her best season. For one, she gets taken out in a 2-to-1-to-1-to-1 vote, which is insane. Two, her dynamic with the stud muffin was really fun, and I did really ship them at first when I first watched the season, and I still kinda do on the rewatch. Her constantly being a mother bear to others actually works because she's actually playing off characters who can match her very well. Octavio, Angela, and the Stud Muffin. Though this run is just another season for her where she just doesn't make the merge and holds the distinction of never reaching the merge out of everyone in the first generation, at least if we're talking about the first 3 seasons. Georgia is eliminated next, and she was a mixture of Savannah and Back in Action. I like her one-sided feud with Liana as she accidentally pushes Ron off the boat, causing him not to compete on the season, and now Georgia hates her for it, until Wendell convinces her to give Liana a chance, only for Liana to accidentally throw a water balloon at Georgia, causing her team to lose and for her to be eliminated. Liana accidentally causing others pains is a trend on the season, and I like how Georgia is the one to suffer those consequences, especially since a lot of the cast did just believe Liana was just doing the same strategy that Georgia did in season 1, and outside of that though, I really like Georgia on this season. Her and Ron are still together, so that's pretty sweet. Now for Danny, and this will be shorter since I feel like his relationship with Megan is the core of his character, and we'll just discuss that in the relationship portion. Danny as a character this season is funny. Not saying that he's boring, he is entertaining, but since he's so Megan focused and trying to find the best way to ask her out, that just leads for some fun moments. He's able to get into the Bros Alliance after Vince leaves the game, and it was insanely screwed by Greg having the Tiki idol, but I think him sacrificing himself for Megan in the game is really sweet and a good send off to his character on this season. Aubrey breaks her leg. Yeah, Liana pushes her off a cliff and she gets medically evacuated. This traumatized me as a kid. I was stunned just by how the bone was showing and all, and it was just so... Yeah, anyways, Aubrey and Jackie become friends with each other due to Angela just being, well, Angela, and Octavio just being completely mentally avoidant at that point of the season. This leads to the two becoming closer, and honestly they are pretty neat together. Aubrey also pushes the narrative that Liana is evil, so yeah, she made her mark on the season. Brendan is a final pre-merge boot, and this is honestly a fun season for Brendan. He's such a down-to-earth character, and that blends well when he's put onto the dream team with Liana, who is frantic about always hurting people and being perceived as evil, but he's able to calm her down and make her feel better about herself, and it's honestly really sweet, and I do ship them to this day. I love them, though they don't get together on this season because Vince still has a massive crush on her, so yeah. Also, he talks about his journey to becoming fit, and while me and Brendan definitely have very different stories in terms of our fitness, I do relate to him because we are both kind of social outcasts when we were younger, so yeah, I do have a special place in my heart for Brendan. Jake is the merge boot, and like Danny, I can't really talk much about his core character just because his main dynamic is with Stud Muffin. However, Jake starts to build more confidence because of Stud Muffin, and it's so cool to watch. I do think his send-off is easily the best thing potentially ever on this season, where Stud Muffin sings him off, and honestly it's really cute and still made me cry till this day. This hit harder than the Monica elimination from Reality Resort in my opinion, just because Jake really needed someone like Stud Muffin, so yeah. Then again, you can also argue that Monica definitely needed her children in Drew and Isidore, and I wouldn't really disagree with you there. Megan is another character whose dynamic solely revolves around Danny, however Megan starts to break out of her rough exterior. She feels kind of bad for what she did to China, and also feels bad for Aubrey, and then her trifecta alliance with Greg and Jackie is also pretty peak. I love Megan and Greg together as they're able to have such down-to-earth conversations, and Greg is able to help Megan grow. Megan is honestly a lot more likable instead of just being the character that you love to hate like in Starlight Savannah. Now we move on to a new character that is introduced to us, Stud Muffin, who is peak on this season. I love the energy that he brings. He's a breath of fresh air to the cast. He's not a dumb character like Vince, but he also isn't a game bot like Xavier. He's the perfect medium, and it's very entertaining. His confessionals where he talks about losing Harambe's baby, hating Angela, and his perception on the cast is all just really funny. I think Stud Muffin was a great addition to this cast, and now for the other new contestant, Liana. I love her. Call me Vince because I also just need her. Anyways, I felt so bad for her on this season where she just gets so unlucky because she's very clumsy and it pretty much hurts everyone on the cast in some way or another. Before the show, she messes up with the art stuff, and during the game, she pushes Ron off a boat. She causes Aubrey to break her leg, and she also hurts the Stud Muffin during a challenge, and then also the Georgia feud. Since none of them really knew her before the game, they all just thought she was a villain, and that was made especially worse by the fact that she was working with Angela, the main antagonist of the season. She is able to stand up for herself, which is really satisfying, where she obviously lays into Angela about about her just being an awful person. Unfortunately though, it is the episode where both her and Stud Muffin are eliminated. Jackie is finally likable. I don't know what I said for my Savannah and Back in Action videos, but I was not a big fan of hers. I was rooting for Aubrey during their feud the first season, and even though Greg was doing his best Trent in Action impression, I still loved him more than Jackie in season 2. This season though, since Shafet is providing healthy food, she isn't so snappy with her unlike last season. She also does get annoyed with Blaney, but then again all the other contestants minus Angela get fed up with Blaney just for being an incompetent chef. Jackie and Aubrey become friends, and that's great character development for her, and also her and Greg become closer than ever and not in the competitive way. Well, I mean, it's still in a competitive way, but in a friendly kind of flirty way with each other. She even throws a challenge to face Angela, and that's crazy development because earlier on in the season when Aubrey suggested to throw a challenge just to get Angela out, she said no because of her ego, but now she's doing it because it is the right thing to do, and I really like that about her character. She also helps Greg to win the season, so yeah, she's amazing. Octavio this season is easily a top 10 character for me ever, honestly. He starts off the season being the same pessimistic person who just doesn't care about anything and just does Angela's bidding, even causing the 2 to 1 to 1 to 1 vote. But this season he shows that he can actually try. He tries in the swimming challenge, which is a huge improvement because last season where he competed in, it didn't go very well, and well, if you don't remember, he almost takes his own life. This time though, in challenges, he does care a little bit to try, and though when he fails he just gets down on himself, I just think that's honestly pretty relatable. It just makes me want to see Octavio succeed. Him and Greg share a beautiful friendship where Greg is like an older brother to Octavio, always making sure that he gives it his all and pushes them to be better, and to also drop Angela as an ally and also just as like a friend, or I guess they're not really friends, I guess like as an influence. And that's what Octavio eventually does, only for Angela to cut him at the final 3 because, well, she's Angela, and she just wants the final 2 to be as dramatic as possible. And honestly, this was just a great redemption season for Octavio. And I remember when the season was airing live, I remember voting for him to be the fan favorite, and yes, I did cry when he actually won the fan favorite vote and smiled for the first time. Anyways, finally, let's just talk about Angela, who was such an amazing villain to watch. Thank God we had 3 teams, because honestly, I don't think her magic works on the season if there was only 2. Like a lot of my favorite villains, Angela is a lightning rod for drama. She can just annoy just about anyone on this cast, honestly, from Greg to Aubrey and even Stud Muffin, and all those characters that I named are people who don't really get annoyed that often. She also has 2 pawns that do whatever she wants in the game, like Octavio and Liana, and like Heather and Island, Angela just treats both of them pretty poorly, and honestly that is pretty funny to watch, just because Angela is just such an unserious villain when you really analyze her game. I don't think there's really that much to really credit her for. Like, yeah, she does create the Wendell boot, but really if her team loses again, she would have been in a tiebreaker. The final 8 had a challenge to where obviously I do think she more likely gets voted out, maybe. Had the votes rigged against her at the final 7 so she can stay safe. She wins immunity at the final 6, where if she doesn't, she's more likely going home and has to win out from there on out. That being said though, despite her bad gameplay, she makes up for it by being such an entertaining character. Her dynamics with every single character makes me laugh or smile just because she's so ridiculously evil. Not in the Mal in All-Stars way, more like Scott in All-Stars if he wasn't lobotomized. She also flashes everyone during a challenge so her team can win, which, yeah, that's something. And her singing is amazing. I don't care what anyone says, she carries that song in the finale. I'm obviously kidding. Obviously Greg carried that song, but I still love Angela regardless. And we'll talk about Greg in the winners section, so yeah. But overall, this cast really delivers here, and all of them get a 10 out of 10. Now for gameplay, and I think that it was fine. I wouldn't say that the gameplay here was too crazy like the prior 2 seasons, though there's still a lot of fun to be had. We had the Wendell boot where Octavio tricks Wendell, Jackie, and Aubrey to throw away all their votes just so he and Angela can take out Wendell, so the next time that they lose, Aubrey and Jackie would turn on each other because of their rivalry in the past, which is smart thinking but doesn't end up working out because Jackie and Aubrey end up fact checking and realize they got played by Octavio out of all people. Then we have the Tiki idols, which you can use to either swap yourself onto a different team, win team immunity automatically, or just use it during elimination like normal. This was a cool twist on things, but it was really just used to only help out Danny and Megan and Greg that one time, so I can't really say anything in the game changes because of the Tiki idols. It was just a tool to get to the dynamics we actually want to see, like Danny and Megan. Megan also gets screwed because Shafet rigs the votes, and then we have Liana turning on Angela, which then leads to it being Angela versus the world, which is honestly pretty fun to watch. Outside of that though, the gameplay definitely takes a backseat on this season, but I don't think it hurts anything as I feel like everyone plays the game how they normally would, unlike in World Tour, but then again this video isn't about Total Drama World Tour. Now let's talk about the romantic relationship this season, starting it off with Danny and Megan, and I love them together. They bounce off each other so well this season, they're very cute together, and now since that they're both fully aware that they're dating but not really dating, it does lead to some pretty sweet and slightly cringy moments, but in the good way. Like Danny asking Megan out while he's standing on a table, Megan chasing Danny because he saw Angela's tits, and then finally the scene where he gives up his game for Megan is also just perfect. There's also the fact that they keep using their tiki idols to just get on the same team, and I really like that they're in lockstep together this season. Now let's talk about Jake and Stud Muffin, and man, as a kid I was stunned when Stud Muffin came out to Jake. Okay, I would kind of felt like there was something more, but I was still left shocked like Jake throughout the entire merge episode when he did tell him that he did like him. Now a 19-year-old Bobby here, and yeah, this was so obvious that I can't even believe I couldn't see where Cove, the creative genius that he is, was taking it. To be fair, at the time I wasn't really that aware about queer couples or really characters, but I think that's just what makes these two very special to me. Not only that, but the two do share a lot of chemistry together, they raise a baby together, which is a completely different side plot, and honestly that side plot is full of cute and funny moments between them, and also come on, the song that Stud Muffin sings to Jake is so heartfelt. Though I actually do know it's from like that one like children's book that I'm forgetting the name of, Captain Underpants, I believe, like the best friend song, but you know what, the romantic undertones were still there for me, so whatever. At the time I was expecting a goodbye kiss, and I was sad that there wasn't one, and even today I'm still a little salty that we never got one. Obviously I know they did try dating, but they ended up breaking up because Jake isn't queer or just not attracted to Stud Muffin. I kind of forgot the exact reason, but you know what, it doesn't even matter because this season I think that they're great. Also, I think on the rewatch, I think the signs are just clearly there because Octavio immediately clocks it, and Jake's reaction was a clear tell that he was just not straight. But moving forward to the final couple of the season, Greg and Jackie, and I love their development together. They've matured, and honestly they have a lot more of a healthy, flirty rivalry than a heated one, no pun intended obviously. I love the final scene where Greg thinks he lost, and Jackie encourages him to throw the pineapple like it's a football, and then he wins the season, and honestly I think that's really sweet. Overall, the couple this season are just a good time to watch. Finally, we have the winner of the season, Greg. I forgot how good this season was for Greg. He's back in his Savannah roots of being in control as a team leader and not just getting distracted by Jackie. He's a lot more stable, and he still is the caring jock that we saw in season 1. I love his friendship with Octavio so much where he just never gives up on him, and I just honestly find that really sweet. His rivalry with Angela is also great where he just can't stand her, and it's honestly really satisfying whenever he does one-up her in the game, just because he plays the game pretty fair for the most part. He's just a likable character, and is proof that you can make a jock character win without it feeling forced or unearned like with most male Total Drama winners and Logan Hell in Carnival of Chaos. Greg is a very satisfying winner to me where, not gonna lie, I do think that there is a discussion that he is top 3 of all time. He's entertaining, has fun dynamics, and is incredibly well written this season, so I can't really ask for more. And yeah, that is the Total Drama Next Generation Island Homecoming retrospective, and yeah, not gonna lie, this video came out a little later just because I was busy with school, and I still am, but at least the semester is ending soon, so yeah. Also, this rewatch was a blast, and also I just watched this on 2x speed because I am a fast reader, and this just made my watch a lot better since there's no vocal dialogue being said. This is by far my favorite season ever, and there's not a critique that I could honestly really give it. So yeah, hopefully the Comeback Cruise retrospective doesn't take a year and will probably be released at the latest during the summer. So yeah, that's the video. Stay tuned for more. I love you guys so very much, and peace out.